Everyone makes a pretty big deal about art style, don't they? I know I really used to. Art style can seem like something so important, and like it's something to put tons of focus on. But, and I might be about to make people a little bit mad with this, because here I go being controversial on Maine, it's really not as important as people think. And you know what? We're gonna talk about why. First though, let's get into the art. The art you're seeing in the background of this video is one of the stickers for February's Patreon Sticker Club. This is Willow, one of the modern timeline characters for my story Trace, and the theme for this month's mail club is cafe. So I thought it would be fun to dress a few of my characters up like they were working in a cafe. Side note, I kind of like the idea that Willow has a part-time job at a cafe while she's attending college, and I really might keep that. On top of that, I also want to add that this has inspired possibly a whole eventual series of merch of little cafe shop drawings for stickers and maybe eventually keychains and buttons and stuff. But real quick, I do want to reiterate that at least for the moment, I'm nixing the print tier of the mail club. It just turns out that I've bitten off a little more than I can chew while doing this and working a quote-unquote normal job. The stickers will still be a monthly thing, and this will free up time for me to make merch designs and try to get an online store off the ground. But now that we've covered that, let's get back to the video. So, art style. People put a lot of importance on it. Like I said, I used to focus on it a lot too. There was so much brain power that I just poured into trying to find my style. But I honestly didn't come anywhere close to developing it until I stopped looking for it. And there was such a long time where it was all I thought about. How do I want to draw hands? How do I want to draw body shapes? Do I want to lean more cartoony and simplistic? Or do I want to go more detailed? Western styles like cartoon and comics? Or more anime and manga styled art? What about eyes or even ears or the inside of ears? Thinking about it that way is frustrating, and it's a really great way to send yourself off the deep end. It didn't help that for a very long time, whenever I drew fan characters, which was most of what I drew back then, and I also still draw a lot of them now. They're just fun. I did my best to copy the style of whatever media the fan character was created for. For a long time, I didn't really have a style. And admittedly, it didn't bother me for quite some time either. It's interesting. It's one of those things that you don't think much of until you actually sit down and look at other people's art or notice that they're concerned about it. Sorry, had to clear my throat. But it's something that I realized, looking back on it, it didn't bother me for a long while, I think until I was in high school. And when I finally did start hearing mentions of it and paying attention to other artists, I started noticing that they were mentioning it, and I really caught on to the idea that they all had drastically different art, but not because of skill level. Before then, yeah, I'd noticed things look different between artists, but I hadn't really paid attention to why. Because at the time, like I said, I was in high school. This was mostly on DeviantArt, of all things. And what would come about was that I would just see it, and if something looked different in a way that I found aesthetically pleasing, rather than thinking, oh, they do this in a different way, my mind would just think, oh, they're just better artists, which is not the case, and that's definitely not the proper way to look at it. And I bet if you think back on it, a lot of you guys have too, like, thought about things the same way. But when I finally did start paying attention to the why after my attention was brought to style, and then look back at my art, I absolutely panicked. It suddenly felt like I had no identity as an artist, because everyone else's art, whenever I saw them, they had their own styles and they looked so different and unique from each other. But their art would be like, if you look through their galleries on DeviantArt, their art would be different from other artists, but the pieces in each person's gallery would be in their particular style. Whereas mine was just all over the place and a mishmash, because that was not what I was doing. I had a little Yu-Gi-Oh fan character. I drew her in as close to the Yu-Gi-Oh style as I could. Same for my little Naruto fan character. And oh boy, the fun one was I have a little fan character for Death Note. And oh, that style when you're a younger artist and you're not very far in your artistic journey, where it leans a bit more realistically in regard to like a lot of the characters. Oh my gosh, I had no idea what I was doing, and it's very evident. But it was so... It was enough to stoke a panic in me. And the only thing I did compared to everyone else was imitate different anime. Poorly. To be completely upfront, it genuinely sent me into a full-blown, art-fueled identity crisis. My main focus became trying to find my style and what it was. I didn't have one. My art at the time was entirely just generic anime and nothing more. I could definitely see some Naruto influences because that was what I drew the most, but it certainly wasn't my own art. And of course, looking back on it, I see it wasn't just... A lot of it was, to put it simply, it was my skill level. Some of it was, I will admit that, because I had gone from drawing characters with upside down egg heads to, my fiance had this how to draw book that I started looking at, and it just kind of was a breakthrough for me. So I hit the anime stage. Even though I was into anime, I hit the anime actual drawing stage a lot later than some other artists did who were drawing constantly. Because I drew constantly, but my art was all the same in regard to, like, forget same face syndrome. I had same head and everything syndrome, okay? Like, the outfit was the only way that you could tell what it was and what it was for. But I didn't really have a style. So now that I was working on it, I started leaning, initially, into a slightly more Western comic inspired style. And then I veered right back into anime. And then after that, I careened into doing chibis specifically because I couldn't seem to get the hang of them. Again, this was a testament more to my skill or lack thereof than it was just style. Because it just... Where I saw specific anime stuff, my brain went that, oh, there must be a specific way to do it and all that. But no, you can do chibis in a lot of different ways. But after that, I completely shifted gears again into a style more reminiscent of like Batman cartoons and Young Justice and the Justice League. And I'm talking like Batman the Animated Series when I say Batman cartoons and Justice League. That is more so what I'm talking about. And then after that, I fell back into anime again. And then I went slightly more realistic again. And I bounced back and forth between it, a more cartoony Western style, and a more anime-esque style for a long time. And all the while, I was so frustrated because I couldn't settle on something that felt like me. And after some time, I just gave up on it. I gave up on it and fell back into my super basic anime-type style. And the worst part was that I just felt bad about my art while I practiced getting better at art itself. And as things continued, as I focused on bettering my art, I noticed something. In loosening up my art, not focusing so much on a style, I was learning to like my art again. What was coming out was something where I actually experimented. I was changing things, making adjustments wherever I saw fit, tweaking things on a whim, and playing with and changing things to make it just look how I liked, rather than trying to confine myself into, well, I want to do this way. And the real kicker of all of that is, even though I think I have a style that kind of starts to stand out now, a little bit at least. It's still very anime. But I think a lot of that is because I like the larger eyes and the more detail on the clothes. I do like things being a bit more detailed, but a little bit more simplistic. It's a weird combination. But even though I'm at a part where, at this point, I'm fairly happy with my art, I'm still not done finding my style. And the really interesting thing is that I'll likely never be done. But that's okay. Styles change and shift, especially as you grow as an artist. What I started doing was looking at artists and around me and artists that I liked and followed for years, and incorporating things I liked into my art. Eye shapes, complexity or simplicity of the hair, coloring, level of detail, tons of other stuff. And that's how you find your style. Look, to put it in simple terms, I think the best description of what an art style actually is a mix-match game. Whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, all artists borrow and incorporate things from others. We just put our own spin on it. Sometimes it's intentional and using references, but with others, it's just from you having seen it before, and it's now a part of your visual library. If you do want to focus on style, because I've shifted a little bit more now into trying to focus on my style and finding and landing where I want to be, but my advice is to do studies on different styles and subjects. Find the art that you like and analyze what you like about it. The eyes, the hands, the hair, etc. Find those things and try practicing your art with those things in it. Find out how you need to tweak things to make it mesh well with the rest of what you enjoy drawing and how you like to incorporate things. Just remember not to outright copy other people, or if you're practicing through tracing or heavy referencing, either give credit or just don't post it. And for the record, I want to just say real quick, when I say copy other people, I'm talking about like the whole thing. If somebody comes after you for, oh, you're copying how I'm doing eyes, or oh, you're copying how I do hands, or anything like that, that's just frustrating. And the worst part is whenever you get people, because I've seen this. I've seen people who post tutorials then get mad when people apply those tutorials to their own art. Anyway, I'm sorry, I had to go on that tangent. But we have seen issues with that before. In particular, we've seen it online, possibly tracing. I'm not going to say for sure what it was, allegedly tracing. Seen online in conjunction with a horrible take on trauma versus drama as a topic. Sorry, not sorry to mention it. I could not. Okay? But not having issues out of this is easy to avoid. It's legitimately as easy as giving credit or not posting it. And style is something that ultimately evolves over time. That's something important to remember. Overall, it's easier if you don't focus on it and only it. And besides, boxing yourself into a style isn't really the answer, especially because if you're going to do industry work, you're going to have to learn and get accustomed to multiple different styles. It's going to be a requirement. And boxing yourself in can backfire. It can also mean, depending on what your style is that you boxed yourself into, if you haven't gone through learning proper anatomy and such, It could end with you not having learned proper anatomy, style or not. Just really pick a project or something and just practice. If you practice and draw something you enjoy, incorporating aspects into your art that you like, your style will come out on its own. From personal experience, trying to force it just doesn't seem to work, at least not for me. And it just ended in art that I wasn't happy with in any way. Figuring out what you need to practice and bettering your craft is usually the better option. It'll lead to art that you enjoy both seeing after you're done with it and making. And as time goes on, your style will emerge. Most importantly, while you should, and let me make this clear, you should practice things outside your comfort zone, if you're just doing art for fun for yourself and not for an outside project, don't let someone tell you what style to draw in. If you want to draw realism, draw realism. Are you into anime? Draw anime. Do you want to draw a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan comic? Great, do that. Have fun. But if it's for personal art, draw what you want to. It only matters if it makes you happy. And enjoying the process is part of what encourages people to continue art. Before we close this out, I do want to add something. Some styles are going to look similar. It happens. Please don't up and assume someone is stealing your style, since people are still on about that, or copying you. If they're not outright trying to, profit off of it and trying to make it seem specifically like your art in an obvious way, no. Stop. Because 9 times out of 10, that isn't the case. So, how did you guys find your style? Did it give you stress? Did your style come out early on its own? Are you still working on it? Are you still early on in the process? Definitely let me know, because I'm very interested to hear about other people's journeys with finding their art style. But a real big thanks to my patrons on Patreon, Inside Chaos, Salmon, and Creativa Artly. You guys and your support honestly means so much to me, and I really appreciate it. And to everyone who enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And thank you so much to everyone for watching. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!